What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Sean B again here with another quick video. And today I've just been running some errands. It's a little self-care day, just trying to take care of some things here on the personal side. But it got me thinking about accountability, right? So us as business owners, we are held accountable to some degree on the work we do, our consistency, and our teams, right? And a lot of us, some of us probably go the W-2 route. Some of us probably go the subcontractor route. I myself, I've went the subcontractor route versus employees. But either way, accountability is accountability. Now, legally, it's certain things you can do with an employee. There's a certain level of control you have with an employee versus a sub. But either way, you should have systems in place to hold your people accountable. So in this quick video, I'm gonna give you 3 tips to hold your subcontractors accountable if you're going subcontractor route. So tip number 1 is always ask for transparency, right? So when you're hiring a sub, your sub should have, if they are a business owner themselves or a business entity, they should have liability insurance, number 1. They should have some form of you should have some form of their identification on file, right? Not just their business name or their name, but you should have their social. You should have their contact information. You should have a valid address for them, right? Because if something comes up missing in one of your accounts, or pay gets mixed up, or something happens to where your company is held liable, you want to know who you're doing business with, because you're essentially doing business with this person or this entity, right? So that's number 1. Always ask for transparency from them. If a sub can't give you the proper identification, or they can't give you the proper or sufficient insurance, don't do business with them. Period. Don't do business with them. I don't care how good they can clean. I don't care how good they talk. I don't care how good they dress or they look. If they can't give you solid and sufficient identification of themselves or their business, don't do business with them, because again, you are held liable for their dues and the things they don't do, right? Tip number 2, have a system in place, right? Have a system for your subs. I know there's great resources out here, like what AJ Simmons does with his subcontractor certification program through CBN. There's a couple other good companies out here that you can kind of refer to like OctoClean, and a couple other good companies and good podcasts out here that you can watch and you can learn from, as far as to build systems with your subs. So have a system in place as far as training, onboarding. Legally, you really can't train a W-9 like a sub, but there are certification programs that you can go through where they can get proper training on how to clean a facility based off of the client standards, not really so much yours. You have your own way of doing things, but as a sub, you got to understand they're responsible for their supplies. They're responsible for things like that. You can't really make them clock in or out, but you have to set forth an expectation of, this is when the building needs to get serviced. It needs to be done by such and such time, by such and such date. There should be some form of system in place to where they follow. And if they don't, then, obviously you have to mitigate those issues. And tip number 3 is be professional. Like, ask for professionalism. It goes along with transparency, but professionalism as well is very key. So I always tell my subs, of course you can't require them to wear a uniform, but always have some form of like business type attire on, like professional looking. No baggy clothes, no ripped up clothes. I understand we clean out the hours. And again, like I say, you can't really ask a sub to wear your uniform or your shirt, but if they have their own company shirts, that's fine. I don't care if they have their own badges. If they have some proper identification where they're in and out of buildings, they know, or your client knows that they work for you or work with you in business, they should look professional. I don't really judge people based off tattoos and hairstyles and things like that, but we don't deal with anyone who wears bonnets, do-rags, stuff like that. That's a no-go. That's not professional. Like I said, ripped and baggy clothes, not professional. Bringing your kids to job sites. I know for me, I've brought my son to an account, depending on the client, and depending on what type of account, because sometimes in churches have like certain lounges, or they have certain areas that are kid friendly. And if I know my client is not big on stuff like that, or if it is something within the realm where, hey, I know we're all growing entrepreneurs. We don't have money for childcare sometimes, or we don't have certain things, and you should expect that as of your subs as well. But there should be set forth some type of agreement to where, you're not bringing children into accounts. And if for any reason you have to, God forbid, that needs to be communicated and approved by yourself, right? Like, you need to know what your client expects, what they tolerate and what they don't, and then also with you, and then understand the circumstance. Is this an ongoing thing? Is it, hey, Johnny practice got canceled and dad can't watch him, or mom can't watch him, or I have nobody else and I don't want to leave him in the house by himself? And like, there's some circumstances that kind of like, okay. But overall, there should really not be any children in accounts, especially due to, like I said, the insurance part of it, liability issues, things like that. And again, age, I think, plays a factor. I know my son's a preteen, so he doesn't require a whole lot. When I have had to bring him into somewhere, I've never left him unattended. I've never had him running around the building, nothing like that. And again, I've checked with my client, or a prime that I prime, and say, hey, listen, because I know for myself, my wife is pregnant right now. So some days she's really tired, or some days we might have things going on. And it's been a few times when I've had to bring them. And like I said, if it's an account where it's like it's a no-go, and I know it's like, nah. But if it's like a lounge or somewhere where he can sit, he has his tablet, he has his homework, his book, and I know it's a quick in and out, and I know that this client does not mind, or it's not a thing of, it's a reoccurring thing and they're aware, cool. But the stuff like that, you want to kind of gauge that based off of your own preference, how your accounts run, what you allow, what you don't. But typically, really, it should be a no kid policy, unless there is a circumstance that is absolutely beyond anyone's control, and to a degree, and it's not too big of a liability issue. Then you use that at your own discretion. But that's 3 tips to hold your team accountable, hold your subcontractors accountable. And accountability sounds like a bad word sometimes, but this is your business. This is your baby. This is how you provide for your family and your team, and for those subcontractors. They wouldn't be working and doing business with you if they didn't benefit in some way. Whether it's financially, it's always financially in some way, right? But also for me, when I subbed, it was to gain experience, to work up under someone who already has a footing in the commercial cleaning business space, and you can teach them stuff. They can learn from you. They can even learn how to clean. They can learn how to run a business. It's all about what you make it for your subs. But number one, you got to hold them accountable. So thank y'all for listening to me. I'm going to hit y'all with some more videos this week and going forward, man. And y'all keep grinding, and I'm out.